Tipping has become almost a controversial topic over the last couple of years. And if you ever hear Julian and Ted argue about it, it shows that it is controversial. Listen, whether you're at a restaurant, a coffee shop, even maybe a self-service counter, Americans are being asked to tip for everything.
That's right. So we're going to bring in our chief business correspondent, Taylor Young. And Taylor, tip fatigue is very real. Obviously, we have lots of conversations about it. That's not stopping people from the Carolinas from doing it, though. We just like to grumble about it.
We do just like to. I wish there was a hidden camera in our newsroom. We were talking about this topic earlier. Yeah, there's a lot of opinions being thrown out. So whether it's because of the good old Southern hospitality or maybe we give into that pressure more, a new report has deemed North and South Carolinians as some of the largest tippers in the country. Now, according to that new report by Lending Tree, Americans spend nearly $7.8 billion on tips for away-from-home food purchases in 2023. These tips accounted for roughly 15% of spending at full-service restaurants in the U.S. that year. But again, not all states are tipping equally. According to the report, New Hampshire residents lead the nation in tipping rates with over 16% of their total spending on gratuity. South Carolinians came in third with 11%, and North Carolinians came in fifth place with 9.75%. States, on the other hand, where tips made up the smallest percentage of spending includes Utah, Mississippi, and Idaho. So the East Coast really dominated this tipping category. But I will say, just to emphasize, just because North and South Carolinians are spending more of their going out money on tips, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're leaving higher percentage of tips. It just means that we are having more options to tip. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it does. What do you think is behind this trend? Why has tipping become more and more common?
So there is a lot of factors going into this. I think the biggest one is the rise of digital payments. So not having cash on hand is no longer an excuse not to tip anymore. And I think that kind of leads us to the second point, which is this tipflation that we've been seeing. So we've all been at a counter, whether it was an ice cream shop or a convenience store, they turn the screen around and, you know, in the past, maybe you would tip 15%. Maybe you would tip a couple dollars, but now you have the option to tip 15, 20, sometimes 30%. I've seen it as high as 40%. And people are kind of giving into that more because of the pressure. Another reason why I think we're seeing tipping kind of getting a little bit out of control is because of kind of this pandemic tipping culture that we experienced, right? So this was during a time where a lot of workers weren't able to work, that they depend on these tips. So a lot of consumers kind of went above and beyond to show appreciation to them. And I don't think that has necessarily slowed down. And there's almost kind of this expectation that, hey, I'm going to tip no matter what at this point. And that's kind of resulting in people spending a lot more on tips.
Yeah.
And is this kind of contributing to the overall outlook of tipping?
Yeah, and this is where kind of all the complaints, this is where we're going to tackle the complaints. So according to Rate, about 2 out of 3 Americans had something negative to say about tipping. That doesn't really surprise me too much. More than 40% say tipping has now gotten out of control. And the majority say they're annoyed by those pre-entered screens that you now see at checkouts. A lot of people think they're not relevant and they don't need to be there. I will say, because I have done stories on tipping, some of the business owners that I've spoken with say that just is part of the technology and the software. Take that for how it is, and they don't want to get rid of it. And hey, if you're going to tip my employees, maybe they will more likely want to continue working here. We're going to keep it in there.
Well, yeah, and if you can't theoretically remove it from the software, someone just wants it to go away, so they'll do it instead of fishing $1 out of their pocket. So any idea how much on average a person spends on tipping a year? Yeah,
so this actually kind of shocked me, probably not for the reason you think, and I might be outing myself for how much I actually go out or the fact that I do kind of give into that pressure, but the average American, according to several studies, they spend around $500 a year on tips. That equals about $40 a month, which does feel very low, but 25% of the people that responded to that survey believe that's too much, that $40 a month. But, you know, we can sit here all day and talk about how tips are maybe getting out of hand, but I do think it's important to talk about how these are extremely important for service workers, especially restaurant workers. I mean, the minimum wage in North Carolina is $7.25. So while there is an argument out there that companies or businesses should be paying their employees more, the reality is a lot today are relying on those tips to really pay for their bills. So
yeah.
There you go. My youngest.
Keep my mouth shut.
Listen, that's a first.
Wow.
There's a tip for you. No, my youngest works at a restaurant. She's one of the to-go girls and a hostess, right?
Yeah.
And she basically only makes money off
Yeah.
tips. And I think a lot of people are like, I'm not going to tip the to-go person. They weren't my server. Here's my thing. I mean, if you're doing the work behind the scenes, if you do a good job, give the person a tip. I'm just not a fan of the tipping on the front end. I know you said it's built into technology, but I'm like, let me see you do whatever you're getting paid to do. If you do a good job, you're a struggling college kid, which I got a bunch of.
Well, there is
help somebody
discourse
out.
online too that if I have to stand in order to get whatever service I'm going to be doing, then I'm not going to tip. That is something that is being kind of spread online.
Yeah.
If you have to physically come serve me, then you'll get a good tip. But a lot of people do, given the pressure of that screen.
How do you feel when you have to use a kiosk, though? Well, like the kiosk, and they just hand you your order. You're not even talking to somebody, just putting it in a kiosk.
I'm not a fan of that. I
I'm
can't
not.
I can't do
Yeah.
that.
But I'd rather tip than kind of feel the judgment of not tipping.
Yeah, I'm a guilt tipper too.
Yeah.
You're
Guilt
not
tipper?
alone. Yeah, I'm a guilt tipper.
And I think that's why we are also seeing just people paying more just because of that reason.
Yeah. I mean, would you rather guilt tip or guilt not tip? Either way, you're going to be guilty.
Yeah,
So I'm leaving.
there you go.
I'm leaving dropping some dimes for somebody somewhere.
There you go.
Did I say drop dimes? Maybe not.
You did.
Okay. Thanks, Taylor.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.